Hey there, welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now. I'm Michelle Jones, here with my brother from another mother, Scott Collins.
Hey guys.
Good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is that y'all are catching us. And today we're going to talk about, I think, a topic, especially in North America, that folks could use a little bit of a dose of, which is the power of hope. The power of hope and how belief in a better tomorrow, right, creates empowerment.
Yeah, and hope's I think an interesting word because it's one of those that can exist both as a noun and a verb, right? So we have hope as a noun, and I like to. I'm a musician, as we talked about last time. I like to think of things tonally sometimes. And I think hope as a noun might be the root bass octave. Hope as the verb becomes the higher octave of that. If we take it up another octave, I think that version would be belief. Hope in action would be belief. And then an octave above that,
I would call it faith, bro.
Yeah. Octave above that, or maybe the harmony of that would be I manifest, because manifest comes out of belief. And then the highest octave would be I am, right? So that's how we change our frequency, just by our thoughts and actions and working with the tone of our thoughts and actions and words. And that's what Aquarius is about, right? The high frequency, not that one.
Totally. Where does faith fit in there for you, brother?
Ooh.
You knew I was going to ask that. You know who you're dealing with.
Still sorting that one out a little bit. It's probably what we swim through to achieve those octaves one by one. Because also what's that? It's faith in ourselves. Faith in our beliefs is probably the one that we have to, that portal we have to push through. Where does faith fall into that for you, Michelle?
It would probably be tied to belief structure. Mm-hmm. Faith also, I think for me, really has to do with the architecture of reality too. I think that as somebody, and because I've said this before to you personally, Scott, but I feel like I've been very blessed that I've always known Creator, right? Like, I don't remember a time ever having to say like, wow, I really have to seek what I would call God. And so for me, there's an intimate link in my belief structure to faith in a higher power that created me and gave me that power of creation. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Because, I had to spin and reframe that question. So I asked myself, for me, in my martial art, what is not faith? And what's not faith for me is religion. And that sounds like an oxymoron. I know we attach that word to religion quite a bit. But I do believe faith is a spiritual experience. And again, it's something that the more we can lean into our individual frequency that we need to move up those octaves, and have, really what you said, have faith in our connection to source, and have faith that we are just a fragment of that. So we are it.
Yeah, I think that empowerment in terms of hope, right? Because this week, we've heard things, we've seen things. I know that for myself, I've taken myself to a place of neutrality as much as possible, meaning either way is better. If it were like choice A or choice B, I would still be Michelle, right? In terms of our election. But I can see a lot of disempowerment, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see folks like really feeling like somehow their existence is going to be harmed based on a choice of what some might say is a figurehead, or some might say is, the president, right? And we talked last week about like my little be your own president, like sovereign nation of one. And I believe that it's seeing people really hurt that I'm like, hey, where is your hope in this? Where's your faith in you? And God bless, some self-love, we have some work to do as a people.
Right. And the work is here, right? I mean, whether it's a president or a parent or a friend or a bully in school or a spouse, if you're giving that power to them, you are disempowering yourself.
What's like a practical tip? And we're going to have somebody that's coming on as a guest who's going to speak about hope. And I think that I know I have faced challenges that some people would say, how did you find hope in that? I try to make it a daily practice, right? And so for me, hope is something that I fill my cup up with in terms of like a prayerful beginning to my day, a hopeful even ending to my day, that, the next day is going to be maybe even more beautiful, right? Like it's that love yourself some more. It's like the double dose. For me, that's where a lot of hope comes in, is like that double dosing.
Right. And how important is it to be a daily practice, right?
What do you do, dude, for like the daily practice to bring some hope for you? Like,
for me, it's the beginning of the day. The see right when you wake, whatever your small, again, customized to you routine is that can help you find. Again, I like to vibe on the belief octave, even above hope, because that's like. Yeah. Like if it's here, like that's the heart for me. And it actually, things move out from that. So the hope would be in the lower chakra system and the belief here, and then everything else is moving up here. So I anchor the belief in the heart and do it with just a morning routine, well, I'll just rattle them off. People will know it, but Shilajit and Pine Pon and Maca and little pranayama and little affirmations and a little yoga. It's about 20, 30 minutes every morning for me. And then seeing what comes in, and anybody can do that. You can find those little Ayurvedic herbs, TCM herbs, whatever that works for you. You can muscle test yourself.
Yeah. So I have one question about what you were saying with hope being a lower octave. Yeah. So I definitely, I'm feeling a duality around that just a little bit, like a lower octave.
So like there's,
pardon?
Maybe it would be, so musically it would be like the bass note. So I would say, yeah. I don't want to confuse lower with lesser.
Thank you. Thanks for that. That's what I wanted you to make a distinction around.
Between neutrality and numbness, there's a difference between lower and lesser when we talk about tone and music, right?
Yes, for sure.
You feel that bass.
For sure.
Take the bass out of a great song you love, you're going to notice that.
Sorry, my friend. It's all about the bass. Yes. Well, on that note, but no pun intended, let's bring on our guest today, Scott, right? Like an author, creator, just entrepreneur, but really to me, after, and I don't know Mike, right? This is our first kind of get together with Mike. one of the most inspirational things for me, right, is that Mike took a really, really, really painful circumstance in his own life and has turned it into opportunity and hope for those of these women that are walking through, and people in general that are walking through some of the darkest things that folks can walk through in terms of their health and their wellness and their survival. And to me, when you can take like a mess and make beauty from it, I feel like you're already kindred spirit in my book. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the incredible Mike Murphy to Empowerment Unleashed Now. Sends him some waves of love and light. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Scott, for having me on the show. Glad to be here.
An honor.
Oh my God, it's an honor and a privilege, my friend, because I think that hope is kind of like, it's like your jam, Mike.
Yeah, well, I happen to be sitting at our business here called Mountains of Hope, located 7,000 feet in the Andean Mountains. And so I think, and I think Scott was trying to touch on this. Hope is the beginning. So we have cancer. We have people dealing with obesity, depression, addictions, and so hope is what gets them here. When we give up all hope, what have we got? Nothing, right? So hope is just the entry level into this thing. Now these people they find some hope here in what we have to offer, and they say, okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith. So faith would come in second. I have faith that I found the right place and I can come here and heal my cancer or my addiction or my BC, whatever it is. And then that faith eventually becomes a belief system as we have more leverage, success, belief system. And then eventually the more we play with that belief system, it becomes a knowing. And when something becomes a knowing, then that's something that's deep within us that we can bet our life on. And that's kind of how I would see the steps that you guys.
Absolutely. And so, Mike, could you tell us a little bit about Mountains of Hope and how Medellín came to be in your reality?
Yeah, so Mountains of Hope is a resort located in Medellín, Colombia, 15 minutes from it. And it became my reality because I had a tragic loss in my life. In 2011, the love of my life and my partner, my wife, after a 9-year dealing with breast cancer, which metastasized all over her body, finally came to the end, and she lost her life. And she transitioned into a better place. And as a result of that, I was deeply changed. I've never had that kind of grief and loss before. And I've had a lot of loss in my life, but nothing that ever hit me so hard that I was of that loss and take out my arrogance and my self-centeredness, a bunch that didn't serve me, and replace with love. And so since that day, I've been dealing from living out of my heart, which was where love exists. And right after that, a friend of mine said, hey, my sister-in-law is moving from Wyoming to San Francisco because she has stage 4 breast cancer and she doesn't have a very good doctor in Wyoming. She wants to come down to the Bay Area where there's better doctors. Can you help her out? And I did, and that led to that was the seed of what became the Love for Margot Foundation. And so for about years, I would give finance to women below the poverty line when they battle cancer. And what I read, the cutting, the burning didn't work that well. In most cases, I would keep giving them these grants, and pretty soon the time had expired and they're not getting better. In fact, they're getting sicker. And so that's what led me to finding a place outside the United States where we could offer people different modalities of health. Not all Western medicine is bad. Not all ancient Eastern medicine is good, right? So, but we have to find a balance. So that's what we've done here. We use Western medicine when appropriate. We use indigenous medicine, whatever it will take to find where we believe that people have the ability to heal themselves, that the body wants to be in homeostasis, wants to be healthy, but the environment got them sick. So by coming here, we change the environment, we change the limiting beliefs, we replace it with empowering beliefs, and we gently nudge it from their head back into their heart, where healing can really start to take place. And when we start to heal the heart and the soul and get reconnected to source, then it's easier to.
I love it, Mike.
Michelle
and I talk a lot about how important it is at this point in time being expansive with your approach to things, and I really value how you're welcoming in anything that resonates with the individual healing of that individual, right? I jokingly call it creating your own martial art, the way Bruce Lee took all the different martial arts, right? Took 7 of them and created Junkido, like a unique one customized to him. And I feel like that's what you're doing with your place, using some of these, the ancient herbalism and what have you. And also, like, a lot of alternative medicine is very scientific and modern, like the photon genius when using light therapy and IV therapies. And even the Rife machine is a pretty scientific machine, right? So I just, deep bow to you what you're doing there. And I believe it is the way.
Thank you. Yeah, you bring up the Rife machine, right? We have 2 biochargers, and you sit next to these biochargers, and you get this we already live in an electromagnetic field, but this biocharger is putting off all this energy, and you're connecting it to it, and we can create different recipes based on what you're trying to achieve. We do the red light therapy. We do the PEMF therapy, which you can do at home by just going outside barefoot and as little clothes as possible, and get the sun, get the light from the sun, get it to hit your retina, get grounded to Mother Earth so you can pick up those negative electrons and offset the positive electrons, especially with all this stuff that we have to deal with today. We got to get really, really balanced and very, very clear on what we are. And there's so many different healing modalities, but everybody's different. We grow over 50 different vegetables here, so we make these amazing smoothies and green juices, but the soil is pure, no chemicals. So everything we do here is pure and natural, whether it's from a plant medicine ceremony to a colonic, to an IV, to hyperbaric chamber, to stem cells, from exosomes. And then we incorporate a lot of fun into it. We have pickleball courts, we have some golfing activities, we have 20 acres. Things. So, you have to have fun in life too. But people are coming here and healing, and that's the most beautiful thing.
The lighthearted aspect is our most important thing we're trying to achieve, right? The Egyptians had on their scales of Libra, to reach ascension, place a feather and place your heart, right? So if the heart's not lighter, that's where we're not moving up to that very highest octave. So that might be your most genius stroke, the humor. Amen. You need to get some tennis
exactly. Courts. Fun and humor. We take ourselves
you need to get
way
some
too
tennis
seriously.
Courts, I'll come visit you there.
Get some what? Well, we have pickleball, and we could fix it and make it a tennis court just for you.
Average day, Mike, that a client, a patient comes and stays with you guys? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there an average length of stay that a client or a patient comes and visits with you? I guess that it's based on, obviously, cancer versus coming to just do a retreat for 7 days.
Yeah. Let's say yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's say for me, for example, and let's say I wanted to do stem cells for anti-aging, which is what I do every month. I do 150 million stem cells and 15 billion exosomes. And so that would be a 1 week process. They come in the body, the stem cells and exosomes into their body, they recover a little bit, and they're good to go. So that would be like our shortest stay, our 1 week program. The guests we have here, we had a breast cancer patient last month, stayed for 2 weeks. The gentleman here is dealing with a blood cancer. He's probably going to be here 2 months. We have a partnership with the National University of Colombia, and that's where we get our stem cells and our exosomes. They've been growing them for over 20 years. But they have another process where we give clients, and they start building natural killer cells and T cells, and they grow them for a couple weeks, and then they put them back into the body. Obviously, this is for cancer patients, right? And not all cancer patients, but for certain cancer patients. So that's what we're doing. So this gentleman's probably going to be here 2 months. We have a year dealing with some addiction problems, obesity. I think she's going to stay 5 or 6 weeks. Okay,
yes.
We will, medical tourism is a big thing here. We have a lot of people that will get a quote in America for $40,000, $50,000 for dental work, and they'll come here and they'll get it done for $5,000 or $6,000. Somebody might need a knee replacement or knee surgery, and so cosmetic surgery. Women want to have their breast implants removed, or they want to have breast implants. So we accommodate all that kind of stuff. We find people where they are, find out how we can be of service to them, and then we make a plan.
What made you choose Medellín, Mike?
So simultaneously, after my wife died, I had a lot of time on my hand, and I started doing a deep dive into all the different rabbit holes that we find ourselves going down, right? And I said, man, I think America's got big problems here. This was 2011. And I started telling my friends and my kids, and I said, we got to do something about this. And I turned around and there was nobody behind me. So I said, okay, I'm going to find a plan B. So if America does go south, which it has, hopefully we'll see what happens now. But I said, okay, I looked at the whole world, like, okay, I like Switzerland, I like warm weather. So let's go South America. And in 2015, I went on a 4-country, 8-city tour of South America. Medellín was the 3rd city. It's called the City of Eternal Spring because we're 7,000 feet. The city's 5,000 feet, where we are 7,000 feet in the air, close to the equator. So take my apartment, for example. I'm 5,000 feet. I have no windows or no screens on my windows. I have no heater. I have no air conditioning. I never get hot. I never get cold. I never get bit. So it's a very, very unique place. Now, the 20 acres that we have here at 7,000 feet in the Andean Mountains is unbelievably beautiful. And again, our temperature here every day, 365 days a year, is 55 degrees to 75 degrees. Yeah. We have 2 seasons, wet and dry. So during the American summer and the American winter, it's dry here. And in the spring and the fall of America, it gets a little more rain. But it's always beautiful and perfect. And we can grow so much beautiful
Yes, it's
here.
A phenomenal. I've been a couple of times and almost bought a farm in Santa Elena. And I was so taken with it. I have very dear friends that are Colombian that live. One of them she lives in El Poblado, and I fell in love with it. And similar to you, I was on a world tour trying to decide where one might land. So it's interesting. You don't meet many people that set up, a big retreat center, let alone fall in love with it. So incredible. Scott, I'm sorry I cut you off. You were going to ask Mike something. Pardon.
That's really a great question. My question was, could you share a little bit about the techniques and processes you use to customize that treatment plan for each person that comes in?
Yeah. So first of all, they give us their diagnosis over the phone. We want to make sure we can help them if they come here. And so we start with that. And then when they get here, we have about 5 tests that we put them through. We have a brain mapping test where we put 20 electrodes on the brain. So we want to see what's going on with the brain, right? Then we also have another test called it's epigenetic test. We take 3 hairs and we can look at their minerals in their body, their heavy metals in their body, look at some of the foods that they shouldn't be eating and stuff like that. We have an in-body test where they stand barefoot on a scale. They hold this, and it measures everything in their body: their visceral fat, what their BMI is, what their actual age is, not their chronological age is. Well, that's always fun to see if it's higher or lower. We also do. I forgot what it's called. The technology comes from Russia, a biowell, and you put each one of your digits, all 10 of your digits into this biowell, and it's telling us about your light body, your chakras, imbalance, out of balance. So this is a little woo-woo science for Western medicine, but it's been proven science. We can look at this to get more balance in their life, and then we can test that every week and see what kind of progress they're making. So we do a lot of testing. Then once we determine what they want, whether it's natural killer cells, just a physical detox, what's their heavy metal load, what do they need to really improve, and are they stuck in repeating patterns that don't serve them? So I wrote a book called The Creation Frequency, which is a new using the power of your voice and sound to manifest what you truly desire. So we put them in programs like that. We love the work of Byron Katie. I don't know if you're familiar with her. We'll use, if someone's stuck in the same old story, we'll use her work to get them out of that. We love the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, so we'll use some of his meditations and share his work and the amazing thing that he's doing in the world. So we're open-minded to anything. We just want to have a positive result.
Where do most of your clients come from, Mike? Are they North American?
Yeah, most of them come from America. We've had some from Colombia. We've had some as far away as Australia, but most of the people are coming from America. America was, I'm up there, right? It's probably one of the most toxic countries in the world today. The soil is depleted. So much GMO seeds. We don't even use real food anymore. I think in 2002, the World Health Organization did a survey of all the countries in the world and ranked them for quality of healthcare. The U.S. ranked 37th. Colombia ranked 22nd. I would say that we're in the teens and America's in the 50s. And the people are sick there. They're toxic. I'll fly over there and I'll go to a mall or I'll go to Disney World with one of my kids or grandkids. And you have 35-year-old women being driven around by a motorized vehicle, just not because they're sick, just because they're so overweight. And so it's really a shame. And by the way, that's by design. Big tobacco in the 80s got caught, putting chemicals with the nicotine. Every cell in our body has a nicotine receptor. So nicotine is good for us. But when you put a chemical attached to it and we get addicted to the chemical, then we have a problem with addiction to cigarettes. Well, when they were getting trouble for all this in the 80s, what did they do? They bought big food. So, the General Mills, Kraft, and so they've done the same thing with our food. We have certain receptors on all of our cells, and they'll put chemicals in there, and that's why we're addicted to the damn Big Mac or the milkshake or whatever it is. And so that's really a big issue in America. Now, I'm hoping now, that they're going to make some changes in the FDA and maybe we can get off that cycle. But we really, my heart goes out to Americans, and that's mostly what we're doing.
Now. That's like what we're just trying as Americans, and being that the top-down structures have not been helping out from the ground up, if we can take charge of ourselves, and that's what we have to do here, because the system definitely isn't helping us. So we have to take it down to the hope, the base note, like us, and that starts with information and knowledge, right? And then we can start making choices. Because fortunately with technology, we can acquire things. We don't have minerals. You can take Shilajit every day. You can get a mineral source, right? Because you're right, we're not getting it from our food. Even our organic food here is limited compared to what you could be on some places. So, thank you for sharing that.
And people don't know what they don't know, right? So, folks find it like super nefarious when I talk to people in my office every single day about like what is glyphosate. People don't even know what it is, and it's intentionally been kept from us. So one of the things I'm very hopeful about is that, you know, we are turning a corner, a page. The awareness is there. You know, we're at least having conversation more about it than we have, but it's really sad. Like Mike was saying, you know, you see 35-year-olds walking around. I mean, I have 25-year-olds that come into my office and they're like, Michelle, why are you healthier than I am? Shouldn't be this way. Yes.
Well, the good news is the system is breaking, and the system is being exposed. It's like the Wizard of Oz movie. You know, we're seeing who the little man behind the curtain is now. So we are waking up. This article, I think it came from, they finally admitted, I'll never forget this. I got this terrible argument with my brother's girlfriend 20 years ago over fluoride. She's a dentist, and she's telling me how fluoride is good for their teeth. And it's a neurotoxin. If you get caught dumping fluoride into a river, you're going to jail for 10 years and you're getting fined $1 million. So now they finally come out and said, hey, yeah, fluoride, and it's in most countries in Europe, fluoride is illegal in the toothpaste. And if you read the warning on the toothpaste, it says if you swallow this, go to the emergency room immediately. So we are making progress. You know, you mentioned glyphosate. The gentleman that's here right now has a very rare who was the epitome of health and everything he did, but he worked with Roundup for 30 years, which is glyphosate. So now he has this bone marrow cancer, and so we have to get this poison out of his body before it's too late. So
thank you for mentioning that and bringing that up, because I do believe the proverbial iceberg is right there, and the captain of that Titanic has made the decision not to steer and not to bring astrology into it, but on November 19th, the Titanic is hitting the iceberg, and it's coming down. So we're here to be a part of this exciting process.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the good news. I mean, listen, whatever's going to happen,
now,
we're going to be able to usher heaven back on the earth, is my hope.
It has to. I mean, it has to shift. It has to change, right? I think that when Mike was saying it's like the Wizard of Oz, we've all seen like the man behind the little curtain, you know? I mean, I have people that come into my office every single day that say, Michelle, I've never heard of colon hydrotherapy, and I don't even know what hypnosis is, but I think that I want to learn more about it because it just seems like something that I need. You know, it's like their higher self is remembering, you know, and it's to me a very intriguing time because, you know, I joke around about this. I didn't see it going this way, right? Like I figured that people knew the kinds of things that at least the three of us that are having this conversation right now have discovered, you know, but most people didn't have a need for it. You know, cancer didn't touch their lives, you know, and I think that what's exciting is that we're having these conversations now collectively, not just individually, right? Not just, hey, me speaking to a friend. There's a whole dialogue that, you know, I'm going to say his name, RFKJ, right, has brought forward. And I think that with a shift in, no matter if you're, you know, on the Chinese food menu, option A or option B, what we can clearly see in America is that people said, we need change, right? That's what everybody said is, I want to change. And so I think that if we can start to offer change from a standpoint of empowerment, from us being our own inner authority, you know, where you have a belief system that's structured around, hey, guess what? Things are going to get better because they always are, as opposed to waiting for the other shoe to fall, which is where I think that many of us have been led like little, you know, sheep, just kind of off of the ledge. No fault of ours. Again, can't know what you don't know. You know, and for me being here in America during this election cycle, not being in Costa Rica or in Colombia or in Chile or somewhere else, I can tell that people stepping back into their higher selves and remembering that part of them, it's only going to help us to help ourselves, right?
Yeah, because once you remember, once you know, you can't unknow. And that's why it's the awareness. And while we're having these conversations, the awareness is out there now. And once you watch this, or it can happen with anybody, the awareness is like a spark, and then it's fully on you.
I have a strange. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is we need to realize, and the problem I see in America is everybody wants to be a victim, and the truth is we're either all victims or none of us are victims. So pick your poison. But the truth of the matter is, none of us are victors. We're powerful creators. And we came here to create something. And we have a mandate that we came here with. And then we forget, and then something happens, and we wake up, and now we got to find that purpose. And that's called fulfillment. But the problem is when you walk around as a victim, you have no power. If you have no power, you can't change or fix anything. And so that's the problem I see, especially with the younger people now. You know, they have to realize that they're not victims, and that they're a powerful creator, and they came to create something. If we can get that momentum going,
the good news is
then we can really start to see
right. We're built
place.
like that. It's in our DNA. It's already what we're here for. So I think that's a big thing that can be empowering is we don't have to learn something new. We don't have to, it's not something I have to achieve or access or strive for. It's just something I have to remember. It is already there. I just have to turn the light bulb on. That's all I have to do.
And you need to get out of the head and into the heart, because it's feeling you're going to get when you're connected to source. And that's why I love what we're doing here, because we have 20 profound the whole place, and I really believe we have an electrical vortex here. And so when we can get to that point where we know, that's what I was saying earlier, when we know who we are, why we're here, what's going on, and then we learn about quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and we understand that we have these great powers, and we can access this field of infinite possibilities, and we can create the life of our dreams, and we can heal ourselves.
Are our intelligence, right?
And then we have power.
Not here. Yeah, and when we start to understand that, we respect and honor our feelings more, right? Because that's our intelligence. This can get me out of that, talk me out of it. It can move me in weird directions. This has a function. It's a co-pilot. Right. You know, it's an accomplice. But the intelligence is the feelings.
Yeah, I mean, the truth, Scott, is this is a supercomputer, but this needs to tell it what to do. And this thing is left to, I call it the committee of psychopaths, okay? I mean, boom, 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 boom. Of course you're going to reach for a drink or something, you know? But when you can get in here and get grounded to Mother Earth, be a part of nature, and start to, you know, we, especially as boys or men, we're taught not to feel. You know, I remember when I was going through all my trauma, I didn't even know what a feeling was. They said, well, I didn't know you said, give me 5 feelings. What do you mean 5 feelings? I don't know what they're talking about, right? And my late wife said to me at least 1,000 times, Mike, you need to learn to be vulnerable. I didn't know what she was talking about until she died. And then I learned about vulnerability. And we need to be vulnerable because that's our authentic. And then we need to get in here and heal this thing. Why do we flee from here to here? We get hurt with puppy love. We get hurt. Mommy and daddy were mean to us, whatever it is, right? But once we can get out of here and back into here and start to heal all those events and realize that everything was here to serve us and to put us back on this path so that we could remember why we're here, then we can really get amazing blessings out of this.
It goes back to the vulnerability again. When we had our guest on last week, we were talking about vulnerability and about authenticity and about feelings and how the mind is always going to betray you, not the heart. The heart will never betray you. It always tells us what it is. And I think that that's where a lot of our empowerment is plugging back into that heart center and knowing that that is truth, right? That is our center of empowerment, is the heart. And so that tether that keeps us to our higher self is a heart connection. And that's really the direction I think that we've kind of turned the Titanic. I know you said, Scott, we're going to kind of smack into the iceberg on the 19th, but in a way, it's to break. Right, I was going to say it's to break open whatever it is that hasn't yet gone to the heart, right? And it's just, I thank God that we're having these conversations now, and that we know that our empowerment comes from this. Not from this, not from outside of us, what we do have, what we don't have, who's president, who isn't president, have I been harmed in my life, have I not been harmed in my life? It's like there's this endless opportunity when we can actually step in to our empowerment, have hope, create a belief system that changes us, and actually it changes every single thing around us. When we change, everything does, right? Nothing changes.
Yeah, that's why I love the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. He says, if you want to change your personal reality, you need to change your personality.
Exactly.
And what's your personality? Is what you think, what you say, what you do, right? So that's what I love about Mountains of Hope. You come here as person A, and you leave 2-3 later person Z with a whole new outlook on life, a whole new belief system, a whole new body that's got energy in it, where you can go out and actually create the life of your dreams because you're not so sluggish and so toxic. That's the beautiful thing about what we do here. And you can do this anywhere. You just have to take that first step. You can go ground and watch the sunrise every day in America somewhere and watch it set. And that alone will start to change your whole life. Just those two things. Going outside with as little clothes on as possible, barefoot, watching the sunrise, watching it set, and watch.
That's exactly right. Those are the small things that make the biggest difference, Mike. Those things. I know, like in my office, people will be like, oh my God, Michelle, we just had one session. I feel so much better with you. And it doesn't matter if it's colon hydrotherapy or if it's higher self work or if it's sound bowl work. People notice difference. And I believe it's because we want to do better. We want to feel better. I believe that is something that we are programmed for, Wouldn't you say so, Scott, with your work with sitting with folks, that's like, we want that direction?
Oh, absolutely. It's our innate state of being. I mean, I don't think we are innately divisive, polarizing, aggressive, violent. All of those things are behaviors that are like come from an outside in. We don't come in with that. Totally.
The truth is that we're programmed to believe that bullshit. I have this picture with me. This is me about 6-7 months old, sitting on my parents' couch with a bottle of beer next to me with a cigarette hanging. And my mother wrote, learning young, just like mommy and daddy. Well, guess what? I was a smoker. I was a drinker. Womanizer, I was again, I believe all that shit. We come in here, this beautiful, innocent little soul in this beautiful little innocent body. And then once we realize that, and we can start to break that programming and say enough is enough, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do in America as a collective. We got to stop this programming of all these wars and of all this bullshit food. They give us 12 minutes of fear in the news, right? And then they give us a 60-second commercial to buy a Big Mac or a new car or a new TV. And so we all consumers, and we've lost touch with who we are and why we're here. And it's insane, right? So that's breaking. The good news is it's breaking right before our very eyes,
and
globally.
How important is it?
And we're going to usher in a better way of living.
The consideration that even you like that picture there, that we chose this. We chose those parents. We chose to come in here. We chose the path to going to green. So that can help us unlock the programming a lot better when we just accept, okay, I chose this. I'm here, and this is why I'm here. This is my customized martial art experience to find maybe ascension in this one.
Yep.
So, like, we chose that. It's a cool photo. It's a cool photo.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'll be bitching and moaning about what's going on in the world. And one of my friends will say, well, you chose to be here at this time. I go, oh, I made a mistake. Are you sure about that? Right. But the truth of the matter is we can make a good argument that we did choose to come here at this particular time, and we did choose our parents, and we did choose these experiences. And then when we start looking at life like that everything is here to support us, then we're freer. And when we're freer, we're more comfortable in our own skin, and now we can start to learn.
And that's what empowerment is all about, right? To find out what it is that we really came here for, to free us, to become the best version of us that we kind of contracted to be. You know, that's a joke that I make often, which is, really, God, I signed up for this? Really? Can I look? Can I see like the contract? He's like, oh yeah, we're going to sit down and we'll visit this, Michelle. Don't you worry. But it's all to better us, right? I mean, that's why we're creating this. You know, some people believe that right now we're up in heaven, and you know, the three of us are sharing a mutual dream right now. You know, that's what we're doing, is just kind of overlapping in the dream. And then when this is done, we go back and then we learn and we create the next one. Yep. So it's like it's your dream, you know, or your nightmare, I guess. Right?
Well, it's possible we're just experiencing all of those at the same time. And they're all not even coming back and forth. They're just spherical. And we're experiencing each one of them. We just hop on which one.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that this is an illusion, because if we're made up of atoms, which are 99% space or more, okay, what's holding all this together? We created this intention to create this world so we can experience. I'll never forget this as long as I live. After my wife had died, I really didn't care if I was in body or out of body. And I happened to be having lunch at a place in Costa Rica. And at my table was a guy named Dr. Bruce Lipton. And I'm saying this, right? And this guy looks at me and goes, well, let me ask you a question, Mike. When you're out of body, can you taste chocolate? And obviously you can't. And have sex, you can't make love. So there's a reason that we take on this physical incarnation. I've learned my word, and we keep coming back here until we learn what we don't need to learn anymore, and then we can go to a higher vibrational frequency. That's my intention, the way I see it. But we all have our own belief system, right? So there is a gift. That's what I want to say. 28 military guys every day are committing suicide. The number for children now or teenagers, not car accidents, but suicide. We need to get a hold of this, because this is a gift. This physical experience, which is difficult at times, okay, can be very, very difficult. Children get cancer. People die of freaky accidents, right? But one big picture, death is just an illusion, and that this is all just an illusion. And then we can just take a mindset and say, hey, you know, let's say I want to manifest great love. Great love is coming my way right now. I can feel it. Let's say I want wealth. Great wealth is coming my way right now, right? It's all a belief system. But when we start to believe it and we events and possibilities. Guess right. Guess what? Great love shows up.
Yeah.
Great wealth shows up. Great health shows up.
You brought the suicide.
But we just got to put it out there.
And I think the Earth experience, like my belief, is what makes it unique is the emotional field here. And so it's the emotions that is most unique about choosing this. And what's connected to that are feelings, right? And if we don't have the understand that our feelings are our intelligence, and our emotions are feeding that, then I would imagine most suicides are not knowing what the emotions and feelings were. That has to come from a lack of empowerment in the relationship to your emotions and feelings. And then, as you said, the computer malfunctions, and just short, it's like completely no upgrade. And then, because that's the only route. I mean, I guess grief could lead you to, but that's an emotion and a feeling still, right? It's probably the most extreme one. And so that it just validates. I think that's why we're here. We have to understand our emotions and feelings, and then that's our experience.
That's truly the most empowering experience, to understand, right? Feelings, emotions. That's what we're here to do. It's like Mike was saying, the reason we chose embodiment is so we can taste chocolate, right? So we can, love another person, express it physically. Like those things, you can't do those things without the body, right? And I think that the disempowerment in particular around the body has been, really observable in the last 30 or 40 years in particular, in ways that I don't think that we've ever seen in our culture until now. And the re-empowerment coming back that we can make these changes, right? Just by changing food, just by going outside, greeting the sun, saying goodbye to the sun, having clean water, right? Being aware of organic food.
Letting ourselves feel our emotions. When it comes,
absolutely,
it's okay. Like just get acquainted with them. What is it? What is that I'm feeling? Recognize it and then accept it and let it move through, without judgment. Yeah. It's really easy to judge feelings and emotions. Or to have no idea what the fuck. Yeah.
And it's okay. It's all okay. It's okay to be sad.
Yes.
It's okay to cry. It's all okay. And so we don't have to defend it and realize that a better day around the corner. I'll never forget this. I was at a Byron Katie 2-week school to work. And she said, why do I keep doing this work? Because as long as one person is suffering, then I still have work to do here. Because it's just a thought. The suffering is just a thought, right? Now, of course, we get in physical pain and there's real suffering. But at the end of the day, most of our suffering is just believing a story that's not true. And then when we can analyze that and look at that and realize, okay, whoa, I'm feeling better now. I've looked at the sadness I sat with it coming from, and now, boom, it dissipates. Right? We shine light on the
relationship with the emotion.
We feel better. We do better.
Can allow us to move through it, and then really achieve like what Michelle and I talk about a lot is neutrality. Like you achieve that neutrality after you recognize and accept the emotion, and you learn what the intelligence, the feeling was trying to teach you about you. So we attract the experience, we have the emotion, we get the intelligence from the feeling, and then we get back to neutral.
For sure. Mike, we just want to thank you so much for taking time to be with us today, just to allow us to share space and to have some really meaningful dialogue and conversation about how it is that people seek empowerment, what they can do to help themselves. Mountains of Hope is where people can find you, right? Excellent. We hope to.
It's been a pleasure Pleasure conversing with you guys today. You've made my
Thank you
Sunday a
so
little
much.
brighter,
And
so
Scott, if you would be kind enough, my friend, would you like to lead us on out with an affirmation?
Sure. I am not my emotions. I am not my feelings. I am.
Thank you. We'll see you guys next time on Empowerment Unleashed Now. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Love to all. Thank you now.